All right, we're going to start recording here. Hey guys, before we start the podcast today, obviously you see the different camera configuration and all that, if you're seeing this and this is up. We do want to start out with a moment of silence for the victims and families of those who were affected at Club Q this past week. It's hard to believe it's been a week, so thoughts and prayers aren't enough, obviously, but for what we can do in this little podcast world that we do in our basement studio, we want to dedicate this time of silence for them. Thank you. All right, let's start the show. I know how a podcast still works. I intentionally remembered to write last week the script and then bring it down this week so that we actually had a script to work with. So, hello and welcome to Hot Takes and Streaming Breaks, the bi-weekly pop culture podcast brought to you by the Colorado Springs Independent. I'm your host, reporter Nick Raven, and joining me in the studio today is...
Kelly Karnetsky.
Oh, yeah, the guy who watches too much stuff.
That's right.
But doesn't have a Hulu queue anymore. Thank God. And over to my left, who do we have?
I'm Viktoria Costantino. I'm an account executive over here at the Indie.
At the Indie, at the 6035, at the 60 spelled out. How are you guys doing today?
I mean, decent. It's a Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We usually record these on Fridays, and we're like winding down, and the building is empty for the most part. You know, people working from home, and it's Friday afternoon, and usually you don't cut these till Monday. But, yeah, there's definitely like a different energy
Right.
on a Monday.
We're very serious. We're ready to get down to work.
There's
no
goofing off that's going to happen. There's no playing around.
We do have a lot of serious things to talk about.
We sure do. I'm going to hand this. Let's get into the heckin' news. That's what I'm saying. I've got a couple items here that I rounded up this morning. It's okay. Usually I'll check my Facebook feed and be like, this was a significant pop culture event. I need to share this with the world because that's the primary vehicle that I share stuff. And going back 2 weeks, because at least there's 2 weeks between episodes, I went back and it's like nothing. It's like, cool. Now I have to actually do work. So...
Gotta research.
You gotta research. Oh, and by the way, I checked the episode last week, and I very specifically said, read the headline and the synopsis that I put underneath. So...
Whatever you say. We'll do it this time. Swear.
All right. Well, we're going to give it to Kelly first. We want to read that first one. We talked about Facebook last week. Mm-hmm. I think we're just going to dovetail like one after the others.
Okay, and then so we want to read just the headline.
Just the headline. You don't need to read off the https://.
No. Okay, I wasn't thinking about doing that, but I can.
But you can.
Yeah.
Really creative for an audio platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from Vox. It is Twitter's CEO is now Twitter's main character. The much-mocked launch of paid blue checks is one example of the eyebrow-raising decisions Musk has made since his $44 billion purchase of the social network 1 month ago. A short list of ideas he's thrown at the wall in the weeks since: bringing back Vine, paid video content, paid direct messages to celebrities, a Twitter payments platform, which could include high-yield money market account, even putting the entire site behind a paywall. In his first month, Musk also reinstated the Twitter account of former President Donald Trump, who was permanently suspended in January 2021 for inciting violence in light of the January 6th Capitol attack.
Thank you. So, what do you think about this train of cacophonous mess that has resulted from Musk's... He's kind of going in there like with long knives and just slashing everything to bits, confettiing. a lot.
You know, I think if it was anybody else, I might kind of respect it.
Who would you? Okay, if some.
And by anybody else, I mean, you know, somebody that's in this room.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I mean, I think there's a good time to come in and to completely start things from scratch. You know, you've seen it as a third party. You see what's missing. Elon Musk is not the person to be doing that.
Well,
he doesn't. Not only is there the like wild gap of experience to managing a social media platform, we could talk about the nitty gritty.
You don't think that just using Twitter gives you all the experience you need to run Twitter?
You know,
like when you play a video game a whole lot, you can go. You're like,
a game
I'm
developer at that point.
yeah.
Look at me.
Exactly.
Look at me.
Exactly.
I'm the game developer now. Yes.
Exactly. I mean, and if you haven't seen the sync meme yet, or is it a meme? It's just he walked in.
Is it a meme? Because it seemed just really dumb.
It was just really dumb.
Yeah.
Right? So Elon Musk, something about it was his first day, and he was telling people to let that sink in, and he literally brought a sink in. He carried it into Twitter headquarters. I mean, it's just one layer after another of not just cringe, but just like tacky. You know, you're running a business.
Yeah. That's what you do on your first day when you
own the business.
When you own the business, you're like, let this sink in.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was like I'm bringing the kitchen sink or something. I'm glad you explained that.
More clever.
Yeah.
Well, he's just a meme lord, and so
that's
his whole shtick, right?
That's his whole domain. Yeah.
I've been following it, but like, you know, because I follow him, and I don't know, like, because I mean, his whole Vox Populi, Vox, whatever, I don't know the saying, sorry.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's just like
we're no Latins here.
Yeah, exactly. I speak English, but like that with like reinstating Trump, it's like. What? Because he was saying that like we're not going to reinstate people for like crimes and stuff, right? Or something. It's like, wait, but wasn't that why he was banned? Wasn't that a crime? Like inciting a riot, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's like, so he's like contradicting himself already.
Did you see that he did it off a poll though?
Yes, I know. Yeah. And and then all the stupid comments, whoever, it's like, oh, now they're bots that are voting for this. And it's like, oh my God, come on. Like, this is not the place to do this. Like, I get having like polls for certain things, but probably not for reinstating people's accounts or banning people's accounts. That's not where you take to polls.
Right.
So.
Right. It's like you become a master and an expert based on just passive experience.
Yeah.
And of course, it doesn't matter if, you know, Truth Social is sending out people in droves to vote up. Yeah, bring back President Donald Trump. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm all for free speech and everything, but like whenever he's like, okay, we're not going to let people be on this platform when they're doing things illegally, and inciting a riot seems pretty illegal to me. So
yeah.
It's like if anybody did that, I would think that they'd get banned. It doesn't matter who they are.
It wasn't a riot. It was a violent group of people in a very important location during a critical time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Moving. That's very semantically.
That's its own podcast.
That's
right.
Not just a podcast. That is like an entire series.
Yes.
Forever. Talking about. I remember he did the poll about Vine too. It's like, hey, should we bring back Vine?
I'm just trying to figure out what his end game is here.
He saw TikTok is popular, and he doesn't want to be on TikTok.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want that. I want to own it.
Yeah, he's like, why couldn't Vine be TikTok? You know, like
Vine was TikTok.
Oh, well, okay. Why couldn't Vine be TikTok like it is now, right? Because it wasn't as popular, and it was lacking some of these features.
Was Vine just ahead of its time?
Yeah, like, and that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MySpace was ahead of its time.
But Tom made out rich, so who cares? So I think he's probably one of the happiest people to ever live,
right?
Because he got paid out. They kicked him out of management, and like
went downhill from there. So
yeah, exactly.
I wasn't part of it.
I wasn't part of that. Yeah. I just made sure that you could have glitter text wherever you wanted.
Yeah, but I mean, all these companies set up, right? Like they set up for other things. They do something, and then somebody else comes around and does it better, right?
Yeah,
and that's what happens.
Isn't that disruption?
Yeah.
Like the whole TechCrunch thing.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what happened with Vine, right? Vine was doing good and it was very popular, and then it did something wrong. It started losing popularity. another service came out that did better than what they were doing, right? They took
right, because I think
I don't want to interrupt, but there is something on the screen over there.
Oh, is the disc not ejected properly? Well, thank you for that. Can you see? Hang on, I don't even have a mouse for that. Let's see. Why would you bother me during my moment of triumph?
I'm sorry.
No, not you. The Mac. Like, we're just trying to have a podcast here. Okay, that should be better.
And I couldn't tell if it was like an urgent thing or just something that showed up on the screen.
Right?
This computer is going to explode in the next 5 minutes unless you actively get involved with what is going on, people.
I mean,
and this is a couple years old, so I'm sure it was some bug that like Scott Forstall put in there before he left.
Yeah, sure.
That's how it goes. I think Vine and Periscope like intermingling at the same time because they were both Twitter. They were both bought by Twitter, and like both of them were ahead of his time. I think of Periscope, and everyone's got a Periscope thing, and they're all doing pretty well. So like Facebook Live with all the emojis and stuff floating out of the bottom and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of other platforms that have kind of something like that.
You know, I was actually just talking about Periscope in light of Glass Onion and Knives Out and Glass Onion. Where they were talking about Periscope in the original. The teenage boy is on Periscope during that movie, and I thought, what happened to Periscope?
Yeah.
And it's because it became Facebook Live and it became Instagram Stories, I think.
Yeah.
So it just, at least the concept got molded and adapted into everything else.
Right.
So what are you going to do with Twitter? You're going to do the exact same thing that everyone else is already doing and established? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, because Periscope was like 2014, 2015, something like that, because that's when the Phoenix years is when that thing. It's hard to imagine Twitter doing something with Periscope, which is why they bought it and then they shut it down. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I don't know. Maybe things do get better if he's just going to shut down and carve up everything and flip all the on switches off and all the off switches on, which is what you do when you're a boss.
Yeah.
When you're a new boss. I mean, this isn't anything new. I mean, how many of us have experienced management that has just come in and completely changed things from the ground up? It's happened to me countless times in different positions. This is normal, but to do it in such a public way is not.
Did they fire half the employees though?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's part of the point.
Well, that's the problem is like bad management is coming in and disrupting everything. Right? Because like, especially without knowing, like, first day coming in, like you're fired. Like, you're cool. Like, like whatever.
You're
like,
dead. You're cool. You're dead.
Yeah. So it's definitely not a good thing. And I think it was the fact that, he thinks that he knows how Twitter works because he's a billionaire and he's on Twitter.
Well, and you saw like he had everyone fly in from like around the world or something at last minute notice to come to this meeting at Twitter HQ, and they were going to have this big thing where everyone explains the code base to him, and they showed like pictures of it afterward, and all they did was did this simple services diagram and how like Twitter is linked together at a base, and he's like, "Yay, we did it!"
I mean, it's just narcissism.
It is, because he's like, good coding is how many lines of code instead of a qualitative approach. Yeah. You know some things about code, so if I write 100 pieces of code, I should be getting $100 versus you writing 2 lines that do that 100 lines. I'm only going to give you $2.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it works in Elon's brain.
Which blows my mind because he should know the stuff from Tesla and SpaceX. Like all that is code driven too.
Yeah, but he also runs those companies into the ground. Like he just since Zip2, he's just known to just run people into the ground, destroy them, so that he can whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and it's pretty well known that a lot of Teslas themselves aren't very quality vehicles. I mean, this isn't new when it comes to him. I don't know really why we're all so shocked about it, more so than we're actually seeing it happen live. That's what Twitter's all about. And we're all going to see it this time.
But with Twitter, you don't have to put it in a car first to see if it works or not. Yeah.
We're all witnessing it in real time.
Right. Yes. It doesn't have to go through, the Highway Safety Patrol Board, right?
Yeah.
Or through the government for rockets and shit, right?
Yeah.
But through rockets and stuff. So it's like one of those things where he can just, everything. He's just like, there was code that was pushed from development that shouldn't have been on production. I mean, he's just basically like, just push it.
Yeah.
Because he can do that now. So
it doesn't matter if it blows up. It's good.
Right.
It's good that it blows up.
Yeah.
Because then the next one won't blow up.
Right. We're iterating,
Yeah.
It's not, whatever. Yeah. But I think he should just waited and looked at like, what are we doing, before just start memeing on everything and really doing this stuff. But because like the whole blue checkmark thing was so stupid, and I don't know why he didn't see this coming.
It was so amazing.
Well, I mean, I should say so stupid coming from if I was an employee of Twitter, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great for the internet because it showed him right away that was a dumb idea. And because, I mean, he didn't like it whenever people started becoming Elon. So, like, that was a thing.
It was a Doja Cat. It's like, I can't. My name's been Christmas. I don't know how to change that. He's like,
fixed it.
You can change it. Yeah. And it's like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
With like an old picture of him, too.
Like the worst picture of him where, yeah. So it's like.
With the receding hairline. Yeah. Twitter.
Yeah.
I actually deactivated my personal account I didn't use very often. And then I've got another account, and I'm like just kind of because I'm like holding out hope, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And it's so confusing now. Whenever you go to like something and it's got a blue check mark and then a gray check mark now, and it says official. I'm like, hold on, what? Isn't that what the blue check mark was for? Like, why is this person now? Like
double check mark?
Yeah, double check mark. They got a check mark, then their name, and then another check mark, and it says official. Like what?
Did you remember his rationale for that was, well, we have all these spam bots that are basically signing up new accounts for free. So if we put in $8 to verify them, then they'll at least be out $8 if they're going to spam, not realizing. I mean, it's not like everyone was saying how bad of an idea it was going into.
People pay but I don't understand that because there's huge campaigns where like people like companies and governments pay people to go do this stuff. So why do you think that $8 is going to stop them from creating an account? Like when they're already paying employees to go spread propaganda.
Yeah. Right. And this is the real problem is that we've seen accounts, like, I don't remember the pharmaceutical company that got spammed from its blue check mark.
Yeah.
Lilly. Yeah.
And that's just a prime example of how much we trust Twitter, which is arguably probably too much. But if you think about the movements that have come from Twitter as far as social justice movements, as far as elections, about spreading information, it's a very almost necessary platform right now. And to have that being, and granted, taking everything with a massive grain of salt, to have something like that have its credibility just torn away is going to be a long-term problem. We have to find somewhere else to go to
Mastodon.
Spread. Yeah, Mastodon. Hive?
I've heard of Hive. There's posts that's coming up.
Yeah, I'm not sure much about it.
Yeah,
but where are we going to get those resources? And when there's tragedies such as, when we had the big fires, several years ago, that was a really good place to get up-to-date information.
Right.
Where are we going to get that immediate information that's necessary for these emergencies?
Right.
Now we can't trust Twitter to do that, so where are we going to go? It is just really the next question.
I think there's a lot of faith in that because, in his having of King Solomon having of the Twitter baby, he's like, yo, also we're going to fire the people or the person who is in charge of key access to the building So no one can get into the building. So work from home, but also you can't work from home. So come to the building. Also, you can't get into the building because you don't have key card access.
Well, they also fired their PR department too,
and payroll.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, it's just because whenever people are reaching out, it's like, sorry, we no longer have a communications team. That's smart.
A huge communications platform doesn't have a communications team.
Well, but Twitter doesn't have, or not Twitter, Tesla doesn't have one either. So he's like, oh, if it works there, it'll work here just fine. Okay, sure, all right. Do you have faith in the service? Are you using Twitter much?
I mean, I don't use social media really.
Okay.
But I just think that I just don't understand what the rationale was behind blue check mark. If somebody said we can't get blue check marks for everybody, or we can't do a different colored check marks for everybody, but we can do blue check marks because it already exists. We can just do that. That'd be quicker.
Yeah.
Because I mean, all of a sudden they got other check marks, so obviously it just took longer. But yeah, I don't know why. I think there should be different color check marks or symbols that kind of do things, because I use Twitter to find out about whatever CSPD and stuff like that. If something's going on, I'm going to go look there and see if they tweeted about it, because that's kind of the blotter now instead of going to a police blotter.
CSPD.com.
Yeah, whatever it is, right? So I think there should be verified things like that, so then people could know okay, maybe red or something, something that says this is emergency services for your city.
Yeah.
So and then there could be blue for celebrities. I mean, just color code it or have a different mark, and then the paid ones could just be verified. They verified that this, or they paid for the service and their premium or something. The Twitter blue could have been just a plus or something,
Right. It's they opened up an $8 an account verification service and then didn't include any actual verification.
Right.
Have either of you tried to be verified before for personal or business?
Nope.
I have.
It is hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can, just send in one piece of documentation and get it, done, and you're all set. But sometimes it takes some good legwork. So maybe that legwork was important, and I think we're seeing that for sure now.
Well, it could have just been a little, their Twitter icon in a circle or something, and that's Twitter blue, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or it could have been a white circle with a blue Twitter bird in there.
Right.
And there you go, Twitter blue.
And then if you're not verified, you don't get anything.
No, that could just be it, Twitter blue. And then, I mean, it doesn't have to be a verification service. It could just be the premium features that you want.
What if you get a crown on top of it? That's the...
Oh, that's
because he's talking... He was trying to do the... the current system is fief and vassal kind of a thing, because only... I don't understand some of that, whether it's the Twitter blue checkmark or the Facebook one. It's who is this random dude and why are they verified and I'm not? Because I'm cool. Yeah. I should have a blue something. I've been on this platform long enough, okay?
Yeah.
I've said enough words.
I deserve one.
Who determines if they're noteworthy or not? What determines? And then, because I remember, I had a Wikipedia page and it was removed because I was not deemed.
You were not notable.
Yeah, notable. Yeah. And it's well, who determines that? My mom thinks I'm notable.
Oh.
So, but then so it's how does Twitter do it? If you don't have a Wikipedia page, then you're not notable. So then it's just a big circle. So somebody determines if you're notable. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand anything. Are you going to stay with the service?
Still got it for now. We'll see. We'll see. I'm taking one day at a time at this point.
That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, it seems really...
I don't know. I've had one for probably 12 years at this point. Something like that.
Yeah.
It seems weird to just straight up cancel it, but there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah. I mean, I've been more active on it just because I've been let me see what's going on.
Let me see this wreck on the side of the road with 50 cars and 20 ambulances. That's... Yeah.
And when I say more active, I'm on there and I look at Elon Musk's Twitter and then I'm look at some of the comments and then I'm there for 5 minutes and I'm out. I'm not tweeting anything.
Yeah.
but I'm logged in.
It's is it still on fire? Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
okay,
it
cool.
Is.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Speaking of things that are not on fire, number 2, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles got a 4K Ultra Blu-ray re-release with 75 minutes of deleted footage as a special feature, some of which was pulled from decaying VHS copies. Now, one thing that I know about you, Cal, is that you had not seen the original theatrical uncut version with the F-bomb parade at the car rental center and how that fundamentally changed your life. Because he came over and we saw it at my parents' place, right? Because it was like TNT or USA that you saw it on.
Yeah.
And he had never seen that scene before.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's nuts. That's a great movie.
You got me. Another one I haven't seen.
How have you not?
I don't know what if I'm a bad film dork. Okay.
Okay. All right. That's fine. It's okay. In the hot take zone, it's pretty cool. But great movie. That is a Thanksgiving classic. That is, and we watched the uncut version. Even though my parents are not don't swear in the house, don't do anything like that. It is a classic, and they had there was an article actually not that long ago, because the movie's kind of longer. It's like an hour and like 45 minutes, something like that, which you don't think for a comedy. Like long comedies are weird, but someone had like salvaged or like dug through and found like an hour and change of stuff that was in the script they had filmed, and they're like, you have to cut this because the original cut was like 3 hours.
Good God.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah. And in like I said, some of it had been kept in just absolutely poor condition, not on film, backup of a backup. And that's why they didn't integrate the footage back into the movie, is because some of it is just so bad now after decades and decades. So highly recommend Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but not outside Thanksgiving, because it's so intrinsically linked to Thanksgiving. I mean, I guess like you could watch Home Alone outside of Christmas, but why?
Well, why would you do that?
I mean, like if you're just watching it once, I guess, just to watch it, but might as well just wait till next Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Then it came out before Thanksgiving, but this was also their first time doing a 4K version, because they had done the 1080p Blu-ray one. Also, 4K movies in Blu-ray. Do either of you guys do the physical disc thing, buying 4K? Okay, you guys are smiling. Okay.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, I do.
Yeah? Okay, how many do you have?
Probably only a handful.
Yeah.
But, we bought our PS5 halfway just to have a Blu-ray player. There's some, and I'm going to plug it again. Knives Out is the true Thanksgiving movie.
Is that a Thanksgiving movie?
It takes place in the fall, and it's all about complicated family matters. What else could be about Thanksgiving?
I could see that. I always thought that was more like a September, October movie. I mean, you could watch it. I mean, it's got Christopher Plummer. He is rest in peace.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's an awesome movie. But I have that in 4K, and then Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace on 4K, because I need to watch that on my OLED TV. So
yeah, that is.
I really need to see, grainy Sebulba's face in 4K. So that's worth every minute of it, and every penny I didn't spend on it because I got it as a gift. So
the last time I bought the Blu-rays for when it was the complete Skywalker saga, when there were 6 of them. And I bought those on Blu-rays, and I marathoned them back when there were 6 Star Wars movies, period. Now that seems to be approaching impossible, especially as I get older. Because I did Star Trek not that long after, when there was only 10 of those. Sheesh. And that was brutal. And that was actually during the Waldo Canyon fire, too. So, and then when you're, like, getting off work Friday night, you start Saturday morning, you're going through to Sunday at noon, your weekend's gone. It just became Star Trek.
Well, that's the only other 4K I have, is all the extended editions of Lord of the Rings, which I do binge over an entire weekend.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you have the Hobbits?
Oh, God, no. Okay. I mean, no thank you.
Do you have any?
Yeah,
guess?
I mean, I have Harry Potter on 8K, I think, Blu-ray.
8K?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the 8K version. I haven't opened it up yet, just because I don't mind watching it digital, but I wanted it just to.
Do they have 8K discs?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
It might be 4K, but I'm pretty sure it's 8K.
Because 8K is really big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool if I ever get an 8K TV. So Band of Brothers and the Pacific.
Sure. Yeah.
And then a couple other ones. Yeah. So basically the sets of things, nothing like just a one-off.
That reminds me of the earliest days of DVD I guess DVD, I guess, but when HD DVD and Blu-ray came out, and it was the absolute pinnacle of cinema that was out first. So you had the first 3 or 4 big movies before anything normal came out. Because it's like the only movies I'm watching on here are, Star Wars and the 5 demo movies they loaded up on the TV to show that 8K footage does in fact exist. Yeah.
The most recent one I purchased was the 4K of Jordan Peele's Nope.
Okay, yeah.
That is a good one to watch.
Yeah.
Not to mention all of the deleted scenes and things along those lines. I mean, I watched it with headphones, and it is brilliant. It is so good. I absolutely recommend the Blu-ray for that.
I wrote a review back when now I have a podcast. And so we just talk about the movies that way now. Great movie. I don't know what I feel. I usually love I love the special features, like the behind-the-scenes stuff, how they made it. But I don't really know how I feel about deleted scenes because they're not technically canon, and they drag down the pace of the movie. Yeah. And I don't.
The only deleted scenes I like are like blooper reels, really. It's just especially when it's real serious stuff. And those are my favorite.
Breaking character.
Yeah, when character breaks. Yeah.
I think of. Remember that first decade of Pixar movies where they had blooper reels over the credits?
Oh, yeah. My 3-year-old loves them. The Toy Story ones, Toy Story Original, we just watched last week. And he was just cracking up over the bloopers. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? Those are good memories right there.
Yeah. I remember really seeing that in the theater in 95. It was whoa.
Yeah.
You don't remember that, do you?
I'm not that young. I'm not going to do the math in my head.
I just remember it was in theaters and then you had to wait a year for the VHS release. That was a pain in the butt. When did they stop doing that? It was like Toy Story 2 or something.
When they stopped having about a 9 to 12 months turnaround? Or?
No, the blooper reels. I can't remember, but I remember there was we're grown up now. We don't have to do these.
Very serious.
Because Randy Newman stopped doing all the scores for their movies too. So after a point. All right, Victoria, I'm going to give you number 3 here.
All right, number 3.
This one's a great one.
Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have to ask
that
first.
Is literally, yeah.
Kotaku. Sony shits on EA from a great height in latest court docs.
Only Kotaku.
Only Kotaku would say that.
Yeah.
The endlessly silly debacle between Microsoft and Sony regarding the former's attempt to buy Activision Blizzard King offers as a new low light every day. Yesterday we had Microsoft declaring that it has rubbish exclusive titles compared to Sony, and today Sony has just loudly dissed EA's Battlefield franchise in an effort to prove how much better Call of Duty performs. It's all part of an ongoing effort to demonstrate that one of the world's biggest console manufacturers shouldn't own one of the world's biggest game publishers, which, sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. So this is all fun. Everyone's challenging the big Microsoft acquisition of Activision, which is like $69 billion. One of the largest in technology, in software ever, and definitely in games, because the previous one was Take-Two buying Zynga, which was like $12 billion, if I recall, significantly smaller. And so now all the regulators are out, all of Sony's lawyers are out. They're saying, yo, government.
We want to buy it.
If we could buy it without borrowing all of the money to do it, we would. But you can't let them have it because our PlayStations are nothing without it. And if Call of Duty goes exclusive, which Sony absolutely fears will happen, despite Phil Spencer being kind of a benevolent dude, they're like, we can't freaking rest on Battlefields. Who plays Battlefield? We know who plays Battlefield. We have the statistics. So, and then Microsoft is trying to do the opposite. It's like, but no one buys Xboxes. Everyone's buying PlayStation 5s.
Have I rolled my eyes any harder?
Yeah.
My thing is has Microsoft demonstrated that they would take things away? Haven't they tried to work it with Sony on things like with like having cross-platform and stuff. Wasn't it that a Sony thing that was blocking that?
So it was. So that's a good point. I can't remember who I was. I think it was like Game Grub, Giant Bomb, and they're talking about, hey, look, Sony's been doing the thing where they're raising the price of games to $70, and oh look, you have to go to Sony to buy the specific Call of Duty content because they've had this exclusivity thing, or look, they're buying Bungie, so you have to go to Sony platforms or whatever to play Destiny. Now there is a philosophical part here where it is the person who's behind Microsoft right now, and has been since Don Matrix screwed everything up, where they're like, the person who's behind is going to be the one who acts most benevolently for the consumer. They're going to do our console's going to be cheaper. We're going to do the Game Pass, and it's going to be all this and this. And then as soon as they achieve market dominance, they're going to be like, ha ha ha, we're cutting everything and slashing benefits and raising prices and all that stuff. So Microsoft is approaching this from a point of weakness. But who knows, 5-10 years down the road, Microsoft gains the upper hand with Game Pass because you'll have Game Pass in your TV or something like that. You just link up an Xbox controller and they go, ha ha ha, we said that Call of Duty would be on every platform. However, there was a stipulation in the legal paperwork, and now it's exclusive to Xbox forever, and it's going to be $5,000 a copy, and you have to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But is that in there? If not, I would say then we're good.
But you can't. They're saying like, no, it won't happen. Mm-hmm. But what's to stop them?
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I would just point back to Sony stuff because it's always been Sony has the exclusive. Like, isn't Halo on PlayStation now as well?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
Yes, and Destiny as well.
Well, Destiny has always had PlayStation exclusives. Mm-hmm. Microsoft users, Xbox users have suffered from that. And with Call of Duty, that's what I'm saying. But like, I know that Microsoft brought Halo to PlayStation. It was like shortly after they brought it to PC for the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, the Master Chief Collection. Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. So it's like Microsoft has demonstrated being open with their systems, right, and their games and their content.
Because they want to put a Game Pass app on a PlayStation 5,
right? And
that's what they want.
And what's wrong with that? Like, I don't see the issue, especially whenever they're floating the cost for things. Like, they have to pay Bungie, they have to pay whatever 404 is it for whoever Microsoft Game Studios, whoever's making
Xbox Game Studios,
whoever's making 343, whoever's making
can't find the studio.
Yeah, can't find the studio. Whoever's making Halo, they're paying that, right? And then people are paying for Games Pass. So just give Sony a little bit of that cut, 30%, let's just say, just like standard like Apple rate or Android rate, right? That people have to charge for their stuff, and be done with it.
Yeah, I get. There's an abacus there where it's like, if someone, so say you're buying, Call of Duty, and it's on both platforms. If you're playing it through Game Pass, you're giving that money directly to Microsoft versus they have to buy a $70 copy, and Sony's getting the cut directly. Versus this, 30% of $15 a month because it's on place or whatever that math ends up being. Because that's how Sony makes their money back, is they sell the games. And Sony just recently in other markets raised the price of the PlayStation 5, to counter inflation and this and that. And Microsoft, Phil Spencer was like, we're losing $100 to $200 on every single console we sell. Mm. Because, and this, there's nothing new.
They're losing the money on the console because they don't have a real competitor to Game Pass.
They don't have, and then also that's just the way it's always been. Like you're buying, you buy like 12 games per console, and that's like $10 or something. Like, it makes up for it in the end.
I wish I could start. And maybe I will, just for the sake of this podcast, keeping track of how many games I have specifically chosen not to buy to spend $70, $80 on, that I'm going over to my PC and pulling up Game Pass and playing on Game Pass. That happens nearly every day. I go through the PS Plus, we subscribe to it, my family subscribes to it. We're not going to pay that money when it's available on Game Pass. And the only things that are widely available on PlayStation Plus are something I've already played, which, going back to it's always fun, but or if I played it on PC and maybe I want to couch console experience, but it is overwhelmingly in Game Pass every single time. There are so few things that I have physically purchased on my PlayStation. It's embarrassing. And I think it's embarrassing for them to be complaining that somebody else is making moves because they figured out how to make money.
Right. They've always been behind in like the tech and services, and this is going back like when they bought Gaikai, a decade ago now to do the cloud gaming thing, and they were ahead of the curve, and then they kind of didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, they just made it the backwards compatibility service. Like they failed on that. Like that was so stupid. They wasted all that technology.
Yeah, on that. But was it Steve Perry or whoever? Because he was the creator of Shiny back in the day. He created Gaikai, and then you had like On Live at the same time. And Sony only bought one of them. But I mean, yeah, they didn't do anything. Like, remember how long the PlayStation Network was down in 2011 when one hacker got in here? Remember how long it took for you to be able to change your name on PlayStation Network? Like, they don't have that back end. And unfortunately, because Sony is a thin margin or negative margin company in all the other areas except for PlayStation saves that company year in, year out. So if Sony loses their market dominance, like the minute they start slipping, and that's why I'm personally opposed to Microsoft buying Activision, is because if Sony loses once, like the chances of them being able to get back up again are basically nothing, because they're going to lose access to so many big titles. And it's not like they can't build new titles, but I mean, you look at Sony's layout and their library. It's cinematic, like artsy, contemplative, games. It's not Halo. It's not couch stuff. It's not social experiences. It's like this game could win an Oscar or a BAFTA, and I know some of them have. Or
it's either that or it's the anime fans collective.
Yes.
And much respect to those folks and their taste, that's fine, but that's such a very specific audience,
right?
That you're just alienating anybody else who's trying to get your games. So the hardest, deleted download I just had yesterday was the Outer Wilds. Taking that off of my PlayStation, which I mean I could talk a whole podcast about Outer Wilds, but. I don't know. I see your point that, if Microsoft takes Activision Blizzard, maybe it'll take away opportunities for Sony.
Right.
But at the same time, Sony's had their opportunities. And why aren't they taking them up on it?
Because they're going head to head against and that's why they've tried to drag Nintendo into this as well. And it's like Nintendo's doing their own thing. Like they're not effective.
They've never been interested.
Yeah, oh no, the Switch port of Call of Duty goes 90 days late or something or you don't get that cool, Captain Price skin in the Switch version of Call of Duty, whatever. They don't care. Yeah. They don't care. And that's how they've exceeded.
And that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, they should just be writing this stuff in. Okay, let's have these stipulations. We need to have just come up with an open platform thing. So get rid of all the exclusives. Sony, sorry, you can't have exclusives either, and you can still get these games. Both consoles get it day one, right? Instead of the whole thing, because I think it's stupid anytime I see it's oh yeah, with Xfinity, you get access to the beta day one on beta. Who cares, right? That's stupid. Just give that to everybody. Why does it have to be an Xfinity thing? Or this skin is exclusive on PlayStation. Sony, if you want to have access to this stuff, stop making exclusive deals. Because you're causing this stuff to make it look bad. I think they look bad on themselves, and I don't like monopolies at all. But I don't see this as an issue because. I mean, Microsoft's just trying to level the playing field, I think, because they can buy this and then they can stop that. That's kind of how.
But see, Microsoft can also then go, let's buy another $70 billion company, and it's tomorrow. It's
that's capitalism, right? I'm just saying,
you had a century to build a time machine or whatever.
I'm just saying, I'm
change the world.
I'm very balanced. I think when it comes to capitalism and socialism, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But whenever I see stuff like this, with a company not playing fair and then crying when another company that's bigger than them steps in and is like, well, if we can't have exclusive rights, this is kind of how I look at it, is Microsoft sees Sony has these exclusivities and they don't like that. And that's how I would be. If I was Microsoft, I'd be like, okay, now we're going to remove our exclusivities. I wouldn't go as far as being like, now they're exclusive to Microsoft, to Xbox, but I would just remove those. And now you've got a level playing field. Now somebody can't sit there and say, well, I have to buy a PlayStation because they have all the exclusive content that I want, right? Now it's on both platforms.
So. Plus, they've made it impossible to buy a PlayStation anyway.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Wii because I remember working during the Wii and it was like 3 years before you. And I mean, it worked for their benefit because people are buying Wii Fits and whatever.
But again,
boards.
That's Nintendo, right?
Right.
They're doing their own thing.
They're doing their own thing, absolutely. And Sony is trying to do their own thing, but unfortunately, when you're competing in that like adult oriented, because Sony was the antidote to like. Video games are only for kids. Donkey Kong and Mario and stuff like that. We got Twisted Metal. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, we got Wipeout and Reload and all these games. And Microsoft is like, we can also do that. But we've got Age of Empires.
But in the meantime, they have other games that are for adults that they don't have on their streaming platform.
Yeah.
That we'll be talking more about.
Which we'll come back to. All right, cool. We could talk about games forever. Which we will. All right, last item on here. I've been seeing the building videos of this, the time lapse, and I just love it. Lego Eiffel Tower sets are getting out to people. It's $630.
Obviously.
It's 10,001 pieces, and when completed, it's actually modular. It stands 58 inches tall, which is just under 5 feet. I don't know why I put 6 feet in here. How do I math? And it's still only the second largest set they've made in terms of pieces. The only set that's bigger than that in pieces is their world map, which is all those studs on the big base plate that you build.
What was the price you had on that again?
$630. Sorry, $629.99.
Oh, okay.
To save you the penny there.
It's cheaper when you say that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because then I remember that at Best Buy. It was like it's cheaper when you say it like that.
Yeah. It sounds cheaper for sure.
Yeah. I wouldn't buy it at $630, but $629.99.
Yeah. Now you got me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've been watching the speed builders put these together. I actually saw someone on Reddit had finished theirs and then tried to move it, and it did not go well.
But it's modular?
So it comes. It's like in the 3 sections. You get the base section, and then the mid section slides on top of that, and then the actual spire slides on top of that. And I guess they tried to move it all together, and then they also had a Titanic.
Wow.
So there was like a collision. It was just really bad.
The Titanic collided with the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
They were way off course. Yeah, it was really bad.
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
So like, do they just add like one piece? Because didn't the Titanic didn't have the record? It was like, I thought it was like 10,000 pieces or something like that. Like
Titanic, I don't have the exact number, but it's like 8,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's smaller.
It seems like they're just like adding like just like a couple pieces to each set, and then they're just jacking the price up by $10.
There is such a market for the highest end Lego sets.
Yeah.
The biggest one I had was the Porsche. It was their I think it was the 911 or something like that. But it was orange. It was like 18 inches long, and it was like 26 or 2,700 pieces, and it was Technic. So all of those, like everything worked together, was functional. They had like a gearbox and a reverse gear and stuff like that, and working steering. And it took most of a week to do, and it was great. But also that was like a $300 set, something like that. They have a Bugatti up there, which is kind of the similar idea that is discontinued.
What color is it?
It's blue. Yeah, it's.
Sorry, I was memeing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dabba-dee. It's. Yeah. And I remember they brought out the Colosseum. The Titanic is actually like big sections that you build separately, like vertical slices, and then you just slide them together. And then, of course, you can't really tell when it's so hecking big. So
they did it so you can sink it, huh? So whenever it's falling apart, that's messed up. Hey, they did it, not me. So.
All right. We have to move on. Let's go to the main event. Yes! Viktoria.
Yes.
we're going to talk about a video game. I know we've been talking about a video game in particular. Do you want to talk about Immortality?
I want to talk about Immortality.
All right. Go ahead.
And I'm the only one that's played Immortality, correct?
No, I played a couple. Yeah, I played a couple hours of it.
You played a couple hours, so you haven't wrapped it up yet.
I haven't wrapped it up yet. No.
All right. So Immortality.
Did you get to get into it at all?
I didn't play it, but I did see, so I know what it's about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as somebody that hasn't played it, what would you say it's about?
What would you say it's about?
It's an FMV, so that's all you got to know.
It's a game.
It is an FMV.
So use a controller input to manipulate what's going on the screen.
So from what it looks like to me, it looks like it's some kind of mystery that's trying to be. I don't know what the mystery is, but it seems like, like not found footage, but just like it's from what I understand, 3 movies that were kind of put together or didn't get released, and then like just cuts of those movies. So you're like kind of browsing through them, trying to figure out something and figure out why they weren't released. Or I'm assuming somebody probably killed somebody or somebody was killed.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I'm pretty legitimately proud of that because, man, this is a dense game. So you're right. It's about main star of these movies, Marissa Marcel, over 3-ish decades. She starred in 3 different movies, and none of the movies ever came out. So you're browsing through the footage to find out why these movies never released. What happened to Marissa Marcel is the big tagline. So what's interesting is that you're going through this footage and you're looking at the clapboards at the beginning of the scene, and you're watching the directors and you're watching the crew work with the actors to figure out what happened. What happened with all of these other actors, some of which actors and crew that moved over to these other movies, but some of them didn't, and why did that happen? Me being a apparently very bad film dork that we've learned earlier.
With all of your 4K.
With all of my really bad 4K movies.
You have episode 1. I think that really holds up the standard.
It was a gift for my birthday.
That's a great gift.
It was a great gift. We absolutely watched it. What's fascinating about this FMV game is that you're going frame by frame, and then you are using you're using your, I guess, controller. Or I think it's on PC. You can use a mouse, and I think it's on Netflix, and you can actually use a controller.
Yeah, it's Netflix on for Android, iOS, and there's like one other platform, I think.
Yeah.
But that came after the fact because originally it didn't.
So you're using your cursor to select items that are in each frame to create match cuts. So you would be watching a clip in movie A, you would see a flower, you would click on the flower, and it would pull from a similar clip in movie B, or vice versa. So this is how you're putting all of these puzzle pieces together. What's fascinating is how you navigate through these clips, how you physically navigate through these clips. Sometimes you're navigating backwards. Reveals more about what the storytellers are trying to tell you with this game.
Right.
And it really is... It's not... I wouldn't say it's subtle by any means. That said, some of the acting is phenomenal and will choke you up.
Some of it is pretty good. There's a lot of... It's like within the realm of or just above like soap opera kind of performances there. And there's some really good ones. When I started, because it was about 2 hours into it. I don't know how, like you said, there's a couple different ways you can play. Obviously, it is a very organic experience because
they just throw you in. You're saying
they really do. Like they give you kind of they give you a tutorial, and you're watching this.
It's about a 30-second tutorial. It's not much.
It's not much. Yeah, it's like here's some buttons, have fun, and thankfully there's only like a couple controls, so you're not like comboing or anything. But it starts out, and it's this clip of a talk show interview, and you're like, and you can sit there and just watch the whole thing if you want. And you're like, okay, so, and then you start rewinding. You can rewind and fast forward kind of DVR style. And like she said, like throughout one of the cool things about it is just they tag different props and characters and all these like
emotions,
just these really subtle things within each clip. And you can pause it at any point and be like, easy select, because it'll highlight stuff.
Okay.
And so like you just stop a frame and someone's smoking a cigarette. And you click on that and it's like, wibble, 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 and then it goes to another clip somewhere else in all of these clips. So you're like organically exploring this entire thing because it's like dailies of the movie. So it's not like edited. It's not like back and forth shot, reverse shot or anything. It's not like the final edit. Yeah. It's like dailies. It's rehearsals.
Yes.
It's like motion capture demos. It's interviews outside of there. And it's like
it's home movies.
Yeah, it's home movies and stuff. Yeah, exactly. And you see, as you go through it, like the different eras, because it's like 68.
68, I think maybe 80s and then 90s
72.
72, okay.
72 and then 1999. And I did notice that the protagonist did not age while everyone else did.
So about that. This is a very beautifully crafted game, and it's to the point where it's hard to tell if that stuff was intentional.
Yeah.
So,
I noticed the wigs.
The wigs. If you've ever wanted to see a bad wig in your life, just play Immortality.
Yeah.
But it's also hard to tell how intentional that is, too. What's interesting about the match cuts, so, say, you're picking a flower movie A, you go to movie B. When you go to movie B, it's not at the beginning of the clip 99% of the time.
Right.
And you don't know that unless you try. So maybe that flower doesn't show up until the end of that clip. You need to rewind all the way to know exactly how that happened because it's not giving you that match cut for a very, the game wants you to see this until a little later in the game.
Uh-huh.
But you have to be creative. You have to be motivated to want to learn more. It's definitely an exploration learning game.
Right. I can see how people with that quote unquote tutorial would be like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening because I clicked on a thing and it played a clip and the clip played for like 5 seconds and I'm stuck and I don't know what I'm doing. I went back to the grid. There's like 3 items. Yeah, you're right. Because you zoom to this, you go from cigarette or flower to flower. And it's like, there's only 10 seconds left of this clip and it just ends and I don't get anything from it. So you have to habitually like rewind to beginning or it's like click in with the stick. And then you can then you see the whole thing and then as soon as you're like, man, I'm going to watch this entire clip. I'm going to figure out what's going on. It's like, wait, pause. Click, and then you're like zooming through to another clip, and now you're in like decades later, and you're exploring that now, and you just it's like Wikipedia if it were an FMV game.
Exactly.
So does it like show you like all of the clips at the beginning, or do you have to? So you can't you have to
discover the clips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then so does it give you like an objective? Does like at the end of the game? Okay, so
there is no objective. Okay. And this was interesting. I was playing with my husband who's played the other games, Her Story and Telling Lies.
Do you know the studio's name?
Half Mermaid Productions.
Half Mermaid Productions.
By Sam Barlow. So he's done the other games. In my playthrough as somebody who hasn't played these games was completely different than my husband's who has played these games before. Knowing very little about this game, it took me about a solid hour to realize, I need to rewind because I just got match cut into a clip that I have no context, no nothing.
Right.
You start with your one clip, and there can be, since I'm the only one that's completed it,
yeah,
I could say maybe there's 100 clips, maybe 150. I don't think I even found them all. It ends the game when you are ready to be done with the game, and it's hard to say exactly what that means, but basically if you've reached enough key points to the story, if you have solved the major mysteries, then it brings you to the end of the game, which is kind of its own thing that I don't want to talk too much about.
Sure.
But
because the game is the mystery.
The game is the mystery.
But it ends the game though?
It will end the game for you, essentially.
So you don't know, but so that ending the game, you don't know like if did I find what I'm supposed to find? It just kind of
it seems like it's a game where by the time you reach that point, you have mentally been like, I know what's going on.
Exactly. You have mentally, you mentally know what's going on. Keep in mind, these are 3 probably fully shot films plus extras. So you can spend anywhere from 2 or 3 hours playing this game to 8 or 10, which is how much I played this game. You can really delve through what's going on here. And then there's an extra supernatural element that kind of goes into that, which really, I don't want to talk too much about that.
Sure.
But if you don't discover those elements, and if you've completed that game without discovering those elements, you're going to come out of that game with a completely different perspective. Personally, I cried at the end of that game. It really, as somebody who's worked in an art field for a very long time, really spoke to me, and the actors are beyond phenomenal when it comes especially to Endgame. But the whole point of the story is being how does art affect the artist, and how and why, and how has that changed over decades? We see Marissa Marcel as a freshly 18-year-old girl in the 60s and how she is treated versus in the 90s where she is making this production alongside her partner.
Right.
And how the dynamics have changed and why they've changed. And did they necessarily change for the good? You've lost some of this aspect, but you're gaining the other. It is phenomenal. And I love that it's on Netflix because I want more people to experience this because it is an experience more than it's even a game. I don't know if that's a good game review or not, but it is.
It's something that only a game could allow. It's like
exactly.
It's like a choose your own adventure, but you're all the pages are blank until you actually start to plow through it, and then you can start going back to here's this checkpoint here, because you can pull out to this big broad view and be like, all right, let me go back to this clip. And I'll start this and then start tunneling back through and finding this other direction, and that which then unearths other clips, and you're just discovering this. Okay, imagine Minecraft. And then so you're going down, you're down, 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 to get start torch. Down, 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 torch. Down, 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 down. And then you're in this cavern.
Yeah.
And then you're going through that and you're killing all the creepers and the zombies and stuff like that. And that's what each one of these clips is. It's like a cavern with lava, or there's water feature, or there's lapis lazuli or whatever. Yeah. And then you're going deeper. It's here's this other one that's got diamonds. But now you've got this menu that says, here's where all those caves are, so I can go back and I can go to this other tunnel now.
Yeah. And my chest is full, so I got to go back up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thankfully, you don't have to don't worry about that. But.
This game does a phenomenal job at making tediosity enjoyable.
Okay.
Because of a lot of what the game is trying to say as far as, perspective on art, to just watching some of these characters evolve. Plus, you're watching 3 films simultaneously, so you kind of want to know what happens at the end. Even if you've already heard that part of the script, you want to see it acted out. Okay. So it's amazing how it's kind of working on all of these different levels simultaneously.
Yeah. And to see it, and even in that as well, just aesthetically, how much the system changes over time. The first movie, was it Ambrosio? Ambrosio, yeah. It's got the old school studio system production.
Post-Vatican II kind of church commentary, but also way over sexualized.
All of these are really
this have an aspect.
Yeah, this is there's like a content warning at the beginning. It's this game's got some stuff. This is not for kids.
Yes. It is not for kids.
No, nudity, everything, and it's got the first movie's matte paintings and what you think of in old movies, and then the second movie, Minsky. Yeah, there we go. It's a
murder mystery.
It's a murder mystery, but it's post-studio system where they're actually doing handheld cameras, the Scorsese, Coppola era. The new Hollywood direction, and then you get to the 90s, and it looks like relatively new. It looks like a 90s movie, and it's trippy, except for again the protagonist that doesn't seem to age, and that seems a little weird. But okay, but the dude gets gray and all that stuff, and
there is some of the supernatural elements will key you in on you can't say outright, oh, well, she's just a vampire. She's not.
Which
Marissa Marcel.
Which that you said that was my working theory.
So, you could say some of those like glazing topics, but one of the things we haven't touched on yet is the horror elements that take place in this game, and it might not have been something you've quite reached.
I don't think so.
So I'm playing this game on a very large TV in a dark room by myself. It is a perfect setting to be having somebody talk directly to the camera. And whether it is the actress Marissa Marcel looking at the camera and staring and smiling at you, or the person behind the camera, or it's this supernatural figure, or it's, you're watching somebody, in the movie, somebody gets violently stabbed or something along those lines. It is so personal because you are the camera.
Yeah.
You are the screen. So you are staring down Marissa Marcel as she looks and smiles slowly into the camera.
Yeah.
Intentionally being creepy. And it is a wildly unsettling game to constantly have that background, and anybody that's ever edited video knows how uncomfortable that can get, especially when you're looking at somebody closer than you would never ever look at them, and they're looking you dead in the eye. It's fascinating.
There's an interesting part because it's not like when you're watching behind the scenes footage or just deleted scenes or something from any other film. There's this tinge to it of like voyeurism, like you're peeking into something that maybe you're not supposed to be looking at.
Well, and you're not, because it's not in the final edits of the movie. So you're not supposed to be seeing this. You're not supposed to be seeing her talking to the camera.
But it philosophically, as you're watching it really just gives the vibes like you should not be watching. This is this disembodied machine kind of thing that is like, this is how you're interacting with all these clips. Understanding these characters, understanding these projects that have not been released, what happened to them. Like I said, you said there was the mystery of what happened here. So you are a sleuth trying to make sense of any and all this. And you'll like hop between, like you'll pick out a random background character and they'll just hop to another background. I actually had one character, I selected them and it popped me back into the same clip.
Oh, yeah, because you ran out of clips.
Because I was the only one they were in.
Yeah. So, and that's another really interesting aspect to the game is that you pick the director, and sometimes the game will decide, oh, we're just picking directors.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll say, oh, I'm looking for this specific character.
Yeah.
Depending on the context.
Oh, okay.
So you're constantly just gaining more context with what's going on. And it is very unsettling. You could be, oh gosh, I think one of the cuts I made was like this beautiful mirror, and it was a serene scene, and you match cut to an extremely violent, unsettling, sometimes assault clip, and it puts you right in the middle. You're doing that match cut to exactly where that is, and sometimes that's not a place you want to be.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of times it's a place you don't want to be.
And the clips I've seen are like, and then you're just kind of waiting for the and cut.
And then that breath after the cut there's so much dread, and to watch these actors struggle to pull out of this scene. It's a very emotional scene they just came out of. Watching them take a deep breath afterwards to recontextualize themselves. Again, it's not a place you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to see what the actors are doing after this.
Yeah, and then how that changes from like rehearsals into production into like final shot. Because they'll do, they'll have blocking, early rehearsals, and then they'll have other rehearsals, and then they'll actually be filming. You'll actually be looking at these dailies and stuff like that, and to see them move along, be in costume and stuff like that. It's like, oh okay.
It's social commentary. It's artwork commentary. It is all of these things, and none of it is subtle, and I know that can turn some folks off.
It is not a game for everyone.
It is not a game for everyone, but it is for someone who wants to take their time to really, have a decent think piece.
Yeah.
It's not very deep, but it is prominent.
You can really get in like the head space pretty.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how the game, because once you get over kind of the weird mechanic of how it works, and you do have to, there's a like learning, like not quite a cliff, but a learning ledge that you have to climb over to really get into it. But once you get past that, then you're like, oh, okay. Now I know what's going on. Okay. Yes. I just need to check like one or two more clips. I just want to find out
one or
this
two
thing.
more clips. Just
one or two more clips. I'm just gonna, and then I'm good. And then like 10 clips later, it's like, I can't put this down now. I'm too deep. I can't do this. I can't leave. It's on a variety of platforms. It's on Game Pass, so you can just grab it because we were talking about Game Pass. Were there other aspects of this that we have not touched on without spoiling it, obviously?
Without spoiling it.
Yeah.
I think we hit it all.
It is a game to experience.
It is a game to experience. It's not straight up a game. It is an experience.
I would say it's a game, but it's not like Sonic.
It's not like...
It's not Mario. You're not...
No, oh, gosh, no. Yeah, it's not like a Call of Duty.
No. But you will feel the Call of Duty to go through these clips.
Yes.
Okay. And figure out what's going on. Because it's not... The game is not implicitly instructing, like, figure out the mystery. It's like you are building this in your head. And I think that's one of the ways that it works is that it like colonizes your brain. Be like, yes. I'm planting this seed in your head. You try and figure this game out. And you're like, I don't want to. And then you start getting into it. It's like, okay, now I have to figure this out myself.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it starts it in a great way with that talk show, interviewing Marissa Marcel, kind of implanting the seed in wanting to know how this very young girl, I think she mentions she's 19 or something at the time, and she was barely 18 when she started filming, and how much she grew during this movie. And you realize that you are going to be watching her grow up in this movie that she's starring in, that is ripe with tragedy and again, assault. There's a lot of assault in this game. If that's something that you are sensitive about, this is not the game for you. At the same time, it tells a story that feels so real. I feel like people should experience what that kind of story is.
Yeah.
And to see how people grow through those tragic events. It's not a good time to be talking about those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Mm-hmm. And then, like, going back to that talk show interview, when you come back to it later, you now have all of, like, so much more context for what's going on. So you watch it initially, and it's like, what is this? And then you come back to it later, it's like, I'm picking up clues.
Yes.
And I'm understanding this. And here is this talk show host that is very 60s misogynist. Oh, you're such a sweetie, that kind of...
And he's not the only one.
Yeah. You see that. Yeah. You see the misogyny all the way up and down, especially with the director, especially that first director.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's so classic.
It is.
It's nothing that you haven't seen or heard of before. It's very Hitchcock.
Yeah.
In fact, I think he's even... the whole character just looks like Hitchcock. So it's pretty pointed.
Yeah. He's a pretty... Yeah.
But...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I got to finish it up now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now you got to go.
I mean, I'm interested in it. So.
Yeah.
And then if it's on Game Pass, then
it's on Game Pass, dude.
Game Pass.
Yeah. You got to check it out.
And I like FMV games, so.
Yeah.
Do you? What other FMV games you play?
I can't remember the names of them, but the one where it's like in the town where I can't remember the name of it, but like you're going from place to place. There's like a bar. And so that one, there's one where you're in a bunker too. I can't remember the name of that one either.
Oh, is that like the English bunker one?
I think so.
There's been some recent FMV games.
Yeah.
And
I haven't beaten them all because I'm bad about. I don't beat games. I'm really bad about that. But I love FMV games. They're just fun to do. And until they start getting repetitive, where you're like, okay, I saw that clip. Okay, I saw that clip. Okay, I saw that clip. Like I keep bumping my head against this damn clip. So yeah. But yeah, no, I enjoy FMV. So
yeah, sometimes this game will actually like thread you back. It's like I've seen this clip already. Let me find something else in here.
And at least in this one, when it does repeat itself, it's usually just confirmation. You got everything you need in this. Okay. Most of the time. So.
Yeah, or it just treats you, or it requires you to then pop out to the grid view and then try and use that to navigate, because otherwise you are relying exclusively on what that clip has for hyperlinks, essentially, to other parts of the movie or whatever, of the experience, the experience of Immortality. And it's one thing I will notice there is that in the menu screen, when you're going up and down on the options and stuff, no matter what way you do it,
it is terrifying if you don't know about this.
Yeah, so you see Marissa, it's like frame by frame. She comes out, and no matter what you do, she reels back.
So you'll click down, and it'll frame forward, and you'll click down, and it'll frame forward, and you'll click down, and it'll frame backward, and you'll click... And it just keeps going back and forth. And for those people who aren't aware of that, it is extremely haunting because it's just a chair. It's her, like, reading... I think it's from her like first interview monologue. Yeah. And so it's just her walking in and then her walking out, and you're just staring at this one singular chair, and it's, again, like you said, it's a place you're not supposed to be. It's not what you're supposed to see.
But you have to in order to beat it. In order to beat it. Well, how can we get a hold of you guys? Kel, how can we, obviously not Twitter because you're not checking it except for memes on there.
I mean, sure, find me on TikTok.
Yeah.
So just username FlowTees.
FlowTees. Yeah. Viktoria, can we reach you anywhere, or are you just going to be,
I'm an account executive here. I would love to talk to you guys a bit more, maybe get some sponsors on this podcast.
There we go.
So reach out.
Reach out to Viktoria. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This Monday thing seems to be doing pretty okay.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Well, that means I've got to run upstairs and get this out. Edited and all that fun stuff. Hopefully you've been behaving, video. Well, I've already said that first line. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow and all that social media stuff. Comment on our web zone or web page. I actually put web page.
Did you put web zone?
I almost did. I think when I was writing this originally, I was like comment.
AOL keyword.
No, yes. AOL keyword hot takes. Yeah. I was actually thinking, leave a comment on our web zone. I'll mail you a pizza roll. Mr. Plinkett.
Yes.
Comment on our webpage and our Facebook and all the fun things, literally all of it. Join us next time for a 5-hour debate on why oranges are indeed better than apples. We'll see you next time.